This is Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. An informal chats with top business moguls as they share their stories of failure and success in a fun and relaxed way. Get entertained, educated, and unlock the secrets to success.
Welcome to Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman. I have Max Alvarez, the founder and president of Sunshine Gasoline. Max, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Well, to me, it's a great honor. And every time we talk about what we have done, which is the same thing what millions have done, coming from another country and arriving at the most generous country in the world, what we now call the American dream. My story is just one of many millions, some a little bit more dramatic than others. But what I have done has been repeated millions of times. This is the only country that you can come in with nothing, didn't even know the language, and then all of a sudden you open a business from the trunk of your car, and you're able to influence and help thousands of other people, just like you were helped when you first came here.
Absolutely. So tell us about that journey. Your journey to the U.S. is amazing. And you're right. There's so many people that have a similar story in history, but you're the story of our time, like of my generation, your generation, our generation. And what you've been able to build is just incredible. But tell us about those early days. I know that you came in and I think you stayed at a specific home on your arrival to the U.S., but tell us about that journey.
Well, first of all, it's amazing. I was never intended to come to the United States.
Okay.
I was intended to go to Spain. My parents believed that the regime was going to last only a few years, just like most of other dictatorships in Central and South America. So my brother, who was 7 years older than I, was sent out to Spain in 1961, February 23rd, 1961 to be exact. He was 7 years older than me, and he had just about finishing his career at University of Villanova. We had received all our education by the Marist brothers, and we were very close to the Catholic Church and the Marist brothers. So my brother went to Spain in February 1961 to prevent from being taken away by the government. Okay. And by the way, he had been active doing revolution against Batista. And then when Castro took over, he soon realized that he was helping the wrong person. So he started doing revolution against Fidel Castro. My parents were fearing for his life, so they sent him to Spain. So he was teaching at the Marist Brothers and living at school, again, because we were very close to the Marist Brothers. So that's in February. In May of 1961, a few months later, the Castro regime confiscates all of the schools.
Wow.
Private schools and public schools. So they take over the education. I remember the brothers, the Marist brothers and the priests and the nuns started leaving Cuba because they were going to be persecuted. Some of them were persecuted. So at that time, I was finished the equivalent of 8th grade. So my parents figured send him as an intern at the Marist Brothers in Spain, in Galicia. And I will be with my brother.
Right.
They figure that government, Fidel Castro, may not last 2, 3, 4 years at the most. But in the meantime, we will not lose, especially me, the younger one, will not lose any education.
Right.
So I somehow or another, and I see this later as I realize as I get older. So I live on July the 4th. I boarded the very last cargo ship that left Havana to West Beach. And I was on my way to Spain when I would be in Miami. And from Miami, I would go to Spain.
Right.
Well, lo and behold, my brother died the next day.
Oh, gosh.
So I was not told. So immediately they made me a part of the Peter Pan group, which was the program that an Irish priest named Brian Walsh had put together to take care of children coming from Cuba, all minors without parents. So, by the way, that program handled over 14,000 kids, just like boys and girls younger than 18 and unaccompanied. So I stayed in that program for almost 4 years. And I remember in that program, you stayed in Miami for maybe a week or 2 weeks, and you were assigned all over the country to different, foster homes and so on and so forth. And I remember I was assigned to stay here, and I realized later on is because they didn't know if my parents were going to say send him back to Cuba because he's a minor, or go ahead and send him to Spain. So, in the meantime,
Max, you were by yourself. You're the only person in your family. Wow. At 8. Wow. Okay.
By the way, it's amazing. My brother was 7 years and a day older than me.
Okay.
He turned 20 years old on June the 9th.
Right.
I turned 13 years old on June the 10th in 1961. So when I arrived here, I had just turned 13 years old, and my brother, when he died, he had just turned 20.
Wow.
The month before. So again, it took him about 6-7 months. I kept asking, when am I leaving? When am I leaving? And they kept telling me that my brother got sick and he was blah, blah, blah. So they gave me all kinds of stories until just one day I remember a married brother who was here, Brother Reynaldo, never forget, came to the camp and told me that my brother had passed away, that I was going to remain here until my parents will arrive. And then from that moment on, we started working on trying to bring our parents over, mom and dad, and my sister. By the way, they did. We finally were successful almost 4 years later.
Okay. That's really quick.
Yes. And by the way, something that people should understand, okay? Everybody always asks me, how painful. Young kids like me, we are just fairly easy.
Yes. Agreed.
What we need to understand is the courage and the pain that mom and dad had to go through.
Right.
In one day, my parents lost the 2 boys.
Right.
That is something that I cannot explain. I can tell you right now, as a grandfather of 7, father of 3,
Wow.
I don't have the courage to do what mom and dad did.
Wow.
If I am ever confronted with that situation, I don't know what I would do.
And Max, I agree with you. That's a lot of love for your parents to want to send you away just to make sure that you can survive and succeed.
Even though they have an idea, because I was going to Spain, all of a sudden they realized that I am in a place with nothing,
Right.
without the language. Because at least in Spain, I would have been able to communicate.
Right.
Here, it was, that difficult. However, what a blessing if you look at it. I arrived at the most generous country in the world, and I am so blessed that I meet Monsignor Brian Walsh, who becomes my adopted father. Not only my father, but the father of over 14,000 kids.
14,000. Amazing.
Correct. So, we talk about religion and we talk about the Bible. I never heard Monsignor talk about any of that. He lived it.
Right.
So imagine, again, the amount of blessings that I have, because my mom and dad are special people.
Yes.
They only had a 6th grade education as far as formal education is concerned. But I can tell you that no one had the family values that my mom and dad did.
Right.
And that is so important, because that's a foundation of anything.
Right. And Max, what you pointed out something. What I like about what I've learned about you is that not only do you speak about certain values, but you live it. So many people have certain values and they preach certain values, but you actually live it, just like you mentioned with Monsignor Walsh. You live it every day through your business and through what you do from a volunteer standpoint, a community standpoint.
And again, all the credit has to go to mom and dad. All the credit has to go to Monsignor Walsh, and all the credit has to go to the Catholic education that I received. By the way, you can teach a kid just like I was taught, but at a certain age, we have freedom of will. So we can do the opposite. Thank God I chose to stick with those things that I learned. If I teach you growing up about the North, it gets to the point that you have free will that you say, well, let me see the South.
Right.
So you can teach a kid the finest of values, and then that individual, when he becomes an adult and he has free will, he may choose the opposite. However, chances are extremely good that if you are really, uh, like, you really are raised in a place where those values are really lived, most likely that you're going to do the same thing. And again, I am very so grateful simply because I was not only supplemented by the influence of Monsignor Brian Walsh, but all the kids around me that pretty much came from the same type of values, from the same type of homes.
So, Max, how did you end up switching cargo ships? You said you placed on a cargo ship from the one going to Spain to the one going to the U.S. That's amazing.
Because the only way, the quickest way I was able to leave Cuba, based on my parents did, uh, we had what they call a visa waiver.
Yes.
And with that visa waiver, they put us in the first chance out of the country, and that was a cargo ship, the JW Parrot. It's called. And by the way, I recently, not long ago, and I know it's in a file somewhere. On that particular boat is a cargo ship. It's a ferry. They came the last 9 or 10 nuns that were in a convent, that the convent was confiscated. And I think it had about 10 or 15 priests that were also leaving Cuba simply because they had taken over the Catholic Church and all the private schools.
Wow. So you landed with Monsignor, and then you transitioned to La Salle High School.
Yeah. Well, now my permanent home would be here in Miami, living in the same place with Monsignor Walsh, where that was a destination. So somebody had provided Monsignor with a small motel on Biscayne Boulevard on 21st Street. By the way, that street is now called Monsignor Brian Walsh Way.
Fantastic.
Memory. So that was a destination. So 60 of us lived there until our parents came in or until you turn 18 years of age. So naturally, I was one of the youngest because I was only 18. So I was assigned to go to Christian Brothers La Salle High, which is a Catholic school, which, by the way, I must mention this to you. Part of our upbringing is competition.
Yes.
Everything that we did was competitive. I mean, from the time you were in kindergarten, you were competing.
Right.
In Cuba, La Salle and the Maris brothers were enemies. Okay, so we had baseball games. After the games, we fight. And it was extremely competitive. It's something similar. Now I'm in Florida, Florida State,
Right.
Florida State University of Miami. That type of competition. And I was a Maris brother at heart. And when I come here, all of a sudden I become a freshman at La Salle. I was the unhappiest little son of a gun that you ever seen, because now I'm with the enemy.
Right.
So that was, believe it or not, that was difficult. That was difficult simply because I love Los Maristas, the Maris brothers.
Right.
Now I'm at La Salle. I'm with the enemy. So at the beginning it was very difficult, but thank God I went out to play baseball, and I made the team as a freshman. So
Oh, nice. So you talk about competition, and do you remember the 2000 Sugar Bowl, Florida State playing Virginia Tech? Um, um,
and I also remember how I'm pretty sure Coach Bowden says hit that son of a gun every time you have because he needs to get away because he'll beat the hell out of you. So I remember big. I've never seen a quarterback be hit so often and so hard because they knew that he poor big. I mean, my God, what a great player.
he was. So I went to Virginia Tech, and that day still sticks out for
That
me.
again. I'm not going to hold that again.
You know, we did well up until the end of the third quarter. I think we were winning by the end of the third quarter, and Florida State came back and they blew us out by the end of the game. But I'm still not happy about that.
Well, I was not. I'm making this up, but I can tell you because every play, Vic was hit every time. Okay, Vic, and he kept getting up. Son of a gun.
Yeah, that was a great game.
Correct. Yeah, no question. And naturally, if I would have lost, I would be crying right now. Or I admire that you're laughing. I don't know how the hell you can do that, but you know,
Yeah.
I take it personal. That's
Well, you know, and Michael Vick brought so much energy to Virginia Tech, and Frank Beamer and Beamer Ball was just great. And, you know, Shane Beamer, Beamer's son, Frank Beamer's son, is now at the University of South Carolina doing a great job there. But Frank Beamer was just amazing. When I was there, we played Miami. I don't know if you remember this at the University of Miami. The Rock was on the football team back in those days.
I started going to the University of Miami game in 1961 when I was in the welfare home.
Yes.
Miami was the only team that played on Fridays.
Right.
They didn't play on Saturdays, and of course they play at the Orange Bowl. So they'll take a group of us, those who wanted to watch the game, which was most of us, and they drop us off at the Orange Bowl, and we'll sneak in.
Yeah.
Because they have tickets. We have money to buy a ticket. So we were sneaking. At that time, they didn't have any fences on the rails and all that. So we just, I remember one time we got caught sneaking in, and the police officer took us out as punishment. They made us sit down outside the main gate for about a quarter, and then after it's okay, kids, now you can go in. George Myra, you probably don't remember this name. He was a quarterback at University of Miami, who beat the Gators for the first time.
Oh, wow.
By throwing he was being tackled. He switched the ball to the left hand and threw a left-handed touchdown pass, and the Gators lost.
I remember.
I was there also when the Gators had the flop so that John Reeves could get the record.
Yes.
They flopped so that Miami could score, and then Reeves could then get the ball. And the wide receiver was Carlos Alvarez. What else you want to know?
That's cool. Well, you know, I know Bowden is credited with saving Florida State football when he first joined. I forget which school he was at as a coach, but back then the Florida State team was suffering, and he really helped to build a modern Florida State football team. Great job.
We loved Bobby Bowden and what he did.
Yeah.
It was really not only a great coach, but he was like a father figure to all the kids who played.
He was.
So there's many stories about that really, because he again, he was a real Christian man who believed in family values. So
Absolutely. Probably in some respects similar to Monsignor Walsh, just in his impact on young people and helping to give them a future.
if you look at the definition of saint, I would say Monsignor Walsh was one of the hardest working, humblest, unassuming. One of the thing about Monsignor Walsh has a lot of credit for taking care of 14,000 Cuban kids during the Peter Pan, but people don't know that when Nicaragua was taken over, all those kids who came over, it was Monsignor Walsh who took care. People don't remember when they had the problems in Haiti that they were sending back all the people. Monsignor Walsh was picking up the Haitian kids and taking care of them.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Oh God, yes. So this is again, I lived with the man for 4 years, and I had the pleasure after I left the program and graduated from school. No doubt I was always remain very close to him. So again, I could tell you that this is an impeccable human being.
Now, it's speaking of University of Miami, I worked at a company, Lennar Corporation, and their medical center is named for the founder of
Miller.
Lennar. Yep.
Miller. Talking about a generous human being.
Yes.
Mr. Miller. So that medical center at University of Miami is tops the University of Miami and Jackson Memorial. And yes, we got to be very grateful to Mr. Miller because he's made that possible. So
He did.
No
Now,
for that.
how did you end up at Florida State? How did your path take you to that? So you made a pretty quick conversion coming over at 13, learning a new language, and then getting college ready.
I'll make it very quick. Okay. So my first 4 years in high school is La Salle. So I started, it was the first graduating class of La Salle because they opened the school in 1961. So I graduated in 65, started as a freshman. So I'll never forget this. Brother Lewis, my advisor in school, he decided that I would go to a small Catholic school in North Carolina called Belmont Abbey College.
Yeah.
I remember asking him, I said, why? And he says, to get you away from the Cubans so you learn how to speak the language.
Okay.
I'll never forget that.
Right.
Okay. To get you away from the Cubans, simply because, we were all mostly Cubans.
Right.
So we spoke Spanish all the time. So it got to a point that I could understand the language, but it was very difficult to speak it because it's a phonetic language. So if you don't practice, it's just not, So sure enough, it was fantastic because now I'm in a very small town in North Carolina called Belmont. Very small town. It's not even in the map, I don't think. So anyways, 10 miles away from Charlotte. So anyway, and here is something that is amazing. My first roommate is from Birmingham, Alabama. And I'm from Havana, Cuba. Imagine, that's a different English language than most other people speak.
Right.
I never forget, this is somewhat funny because it had lasted quite a few years. So I'm naked because we lived in the dorm, and the dorm was like a suite where you had 4 rooms, but you share one bathroom. Okay, right. One big bathroom for 8 people. Okay, and each 2 we had a separate room.
Right.
So I'm getting ready to go to the bathroom, and I'm naked, wrapped around a towel with a soap in my hand. And Henry said, "Where are you going?"
Right.
I said, "I'll take a shower." And a half an hour later, he said, "You mean shower?" Imagine what I read. So, lo and behold, we finished the first year. I will call Henry on the phone and I say, "Henry, I'm going to shave, shower, shampoo, shit, and change my shoes if I have the time." I think Henry ended up with a Cuban accent that I had, a southern accent. So it would be, "Y'all come back, you hear?"
That's great.
Put a pinch between my chicken gum. So I did that for 2 years. That was fantastic. And again, on a serious note, there's nothing better than a private Catholic education. I'm telling you, that's, for example, I'll give you an example, okay? I transferred to FSU, first time I ever go to a public school in my junior year of college because it was closed and all that. And my parents now were here, so I needed to see them more often. Anyway, so I remember the courses, you pick the courses that you wanted, and you get, if you go to the midterm and the final, that's all you need to do. At Belmont Abbey, not only you had to go to class every day,
yes.
If you miss 3 classes, you're out.
Oh, wow.
So at night, we had to be in the dorm. If you were the freshman, you had to be in the dorm in bed by 10.
Right.
You wanted to study late at night, you had to ask for permission and go to the lobby with the permission. Right. At FSU, I remember I come in and I said, what's the curfew? And the guy says, "What do you mean?" I said, "At what time I have to be in the bed, in my bedroom, because I was in the dorm." And he says to me, "Did you pay?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't care if you ever show up again." So I didn't show up. You know what I mean?
So and
So and all you have to do is just take a midterm and a final at Belmont Abbey, or even in high school. You have to be in class. They took the roll every day.
right.
If you miss 3 classes, you're out. You know, so big difference.
It is.
Great schools, no question about that. But again, they some children need to have a little bit better discipline, a little bit more structure than just going to public school like that.
So what's fascinating though is that it looks like Belmont Army helped to set that discipline stage for you, so that you knew what you needed to do by the time you reached Florida State.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And again, this is you know, I never had a teacher. There were always brothers or priests. Now remember this: all they do is teach and pray.
Right.
So when you have a regular teacher, he may come home and have a lot of difficulties and not being able to either pray or prepare for the school the next day, because
Right.
he's a human being and he has all kinds of trouble. So I that doesn't mean that we have great professors. There's no question. FSU's got great professors, and I was blessed to have many of those. The thing is, it's not as easy. It's not, it's a little bit more difficult when you go to a public school and you have a lay teacher than, let's say, somebody who's just dedicated to teach. They every teacher that I ever had from kindergarten until I left Belmont Abbey, they knew who I was.
Right.
They knew what kind of shoes I wore. They knew how I behaved. They know you. At FSU,
Right. You make
one
Tim. That is so true. And my daughter's in college now, and one of the things I told her is that they're not going to take roll. They're not necessarily concerned whether you show up or not. You need to have that kind of discipline.
Correct. And that starts at home.
Well,
that's on you.
That is very true. That is very true. She's doing well, so she's studying biomedical engineering, and I'm really proud of her. How did you end up? Go ahead. How did you end up starting the business?
Well, my by the way, I read something that you sent. My very first business, I was 13 years old when I started washing cars.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so fast forward, I always worked. Okay, I don't remember having a day without work. Maybe on a Sunday or a Saturday in the afternoon, but I always worked. Okay, worked from the time I was in the welfare home. I worked when I was in high school. I worked when I was in college. So I always worked. So my very first real job is when I finished at FSU. Never forget, I left there December the 20th, and my first vacation was from December 20th until Monday, January the 4th, when I started working for City Service Oil Company. That is the company that you call today Citgo.
Yes.
By the way, do you go back, people that you have interviewed, they were also related with our company. So my first job, naturally, I was in training, and my first job was to be a marketing rep. A marketing rep for the oil company at the time was to supervise 20 gas stations. Okay, so I was in charge of finding a tenant, or now you call him a franchisee.
Right.
I was in charge of collecting. I was in charge of selling the products, make sure that they sold a lot of gasoline, and make sure that their image was proper. So I did that for 3 years, and after 3 years, I decided to change from City Service to Mobile Oil Corporation. And why did I change? Because I knew that I always, whatever I do, I always try to be the best that I can be. So when I started working for City Service, my dream was to be the president of City Service. Now, I am not intelligent enough, but I had the feeling that the progress that I have made was not going to get me there anytime soon. So I figured, let me go to Mobile Oil, it's a bigger company, and maybe I have a better chance there. And sure enough, after 3 years, I realized there's very little chance that I'll make a president of this company. So I left, and I made my own company, and I became the president.
So Max, so you were already looking to become president that early.
Let me tell you what I learned since first grade, and I told you how everything that we did was about competition.
Yes.
I don't care what I did.
Right.
I remember washing cars, as I said, 30 years old, and literally thinking, I want to be the best car washer in the world.
Nice.
I remember working at Burger King. Okay. I want to own Burger King. I remember working at a furniture factory as a carpenter, and I want to be the best carpenter in the world. I mean, you know, I'm an old man right now, and I tell you this, and it sounds like, but that is a fact. Right. Driving a truck, I wanted to be the best truck driver in the world. So whatever I do, and this is, I think, I try to teach my children, and every time I have the opportunity to talk to children, I not only become their age. So if I go and talk to a high schooler, I also turn 17 and 18 years old, because you need to speak that language.
Right.
I've always said, and I've always tried to teach them, whatever you do, I don't care what it is, try to be the best that you can be, because if you're not, if you don't get there, at least when you go at night, you say, I try my very best. Don't leave anything on the table.
I agree.
Okay. So again, my 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 dream was to, be this kind of individual. So when I realized there was an easier path, I took the easier path, which is I work on my own. I don't have to depend on other people. Okay. I also realized, and then most people who work for big corporations should understand that. Okay. Not only is how capable you are, but you better influence the person above you that you're that capable.
Right. Agreed.
There's a subjective matter about that you may be the best there, but your boss may not like you as much as he likes Pedro.
Right.
Pedro is going to go ahead of you. So, so you have to understand that. So
Right.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that type of culture. Okay. So I did what I thought I could do at the same time, where I would really enjoy uh, much better.
So that's an important lesson, though. Part of the lesson there is just understanding yourself, understanding that you didn't want to play that kind of a business game. And so what you decided to do, you said the easier path, but it's really a hard path. Having your own business, just deciding to venture out on your own so you can control your destiny.
And let me tell you how much I owe to have done that, and to the companies that I work for. I learned how to do things, and I also learned how to not to do things.
Right.
And by the way, the biggest lesson that I have on that is my dad.
Okay.
When I was growing up, 5, 6, 7 years old, he would pinch me on the arm. Okay? I mean, a pinch, real pinch. Right. And naturally you say, that hurts. And a gentleman who didn't have any formal education, only had a sixth grade at best, knew how to add and subtract and write, he would turn around and with that stern look says, with that heavy Spanish accent, pues hombre, si se lo hace al otro le va a doler. Meaning, if you do that to other people, are going to hurt the same. So here is a lesson in a matter of seconds, how you treat other people. You treat other people the way you like to be treated yourself.
Right.
My father didn't go to Harvard or FSU.
Right.
But he was able to teach me that at a very young age, which I'll never forget. And I think one of the most important things in being successful that I attribute to my own personal business is that I treat other people the way that I like to be treated myself.
That's amazing.
I go to a restaurant, I like to eat filet mignon. I assume that you too. Many people in positions of power, they like to eat the filet mignon, and they figure you can have a hamburger or a hot dog.
Right. Very true.
Good. So to this day, as many years now have been an independent businessman and I have a big corporation with a lot of people, I refer to them as the Sunshine Family because I treat them. If you are on my payroll, if you are in my company, you are part of my family.
Right.
And I treat you as such. And again, I learned this from Monsignor Walsh. You don't have to read the Bible. You don't have to tell people that you're a Christian. You lived it.
Right.
So when they see me, they don't look at me as the chairman of the board, the president, the owner of the company. They see me some as grandpa, daddy, Uncle Max, el viejo, the old man, because I treat them as part of my family.
That's an amazing lesson. Do me a favor though, so for the listening audience, tell them about your business because what you've built is incredible. You have 300 plus gas stations. What you've done is amazing from a business standpoint. And there are a lot of people that want to become the next Max Alvarez. And so tell them about what you've been able to build.
Okay, well, this is the key. Okay, the common denominator is hard work. You have to work hard.
Yes.
You have to be resilient. Listen, not everything that you do you're gonna win. Not everything that you do you're gonna be successful.
Right.
You're gonna have the ups and downs. It's when you have a down, you need to get up and continue.
Yes.
That's the key. So hard work and resiliency are just two very important factors in being successful. Another thing that I learned as a little boy, and I'm totally convinced that my children know. Okay, I have never ever been motivated by money.
Right.
Money is a means of exchange, and I will tell you in a minute what worries me about what is happening today in our country. But the biggest motivator be your dream.
Yes.
That you want to be the best car washer in the world. You want to be the best truck driver in the world. That's your motivator. Money will come in. Money is a means of exchange. Money will fall. If you achieve that, and if you try to achieve that, even just to try to achieve that, money will come.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Listen, I'm driving a truck. They'll pay you for it.
Right.
The money that they pay me is not my motivator. The money that they pay me is just a means of exchange. My dream was to be the best so that I can have a gazillion amount of trucks.
Yes.
And I have lived that simply because, in my opinion, I attribute that to mom and dad and then Monsignor Walsh.
Right.
Listen, Monsignor Walsh, I mean, this guy devoted his life to help other people. He lived in an apartment that I think at the time was like $500 a month.
Right.
He had an apartment. You should have seen it. He had 3 pair of pants. I remember giving him a watch, a Seiko watch. Cost him about $150.
Right.
And he put it on. He thanked me and all that. And about a month later, I see him. I said, "Where's my watch?" Because he didn't have it.
Right.
It's in that heavy chest. I gave it to somebody who needed to tell time because
Very
he had
selfless.
a vow of poverty.
Right.
In other words, to him that was a luxury. He didn't need that. Somebody else needed more than he did. But he accepted it when I gave it to him. He didn't want to make me feel bad. Just to show you. Those are lessons that again, people who get PhDs in Harvard and Yale and Ivy League schools don't get.
I agree with you there. And a lot of people look at competition that you've mentioned as something negative, and it's not. For me, it's I want to achieve the best that I can achieve. If that's competition, it's a good thing.
Competition makes you better.
It does.
Competition makes you better. I remember my daughter. She brought in an A- in one of the subjects. She had A's on everything else. She had an A-. I said, "Sandy, what happened?" "Oh, Dad, I didn't try very hard." "Oh my God." I let her have it.
Right.
Later, Esther, my wife, calls me and says, she had an A. I said, "But she told me that was not the best that she could do. And if you allow that, the next one is going to be a B and the next one is going to be a C because she can get away with the minimum requirements." That's not the. So to this day, To this day, I assure you, she remembers that.
Right.
So my dad gave me a whole bunch of whatever because I had an A minus. Not because he had the A minus. I don't care about the A minus. You didn't give it your all.
Right.
And that is something that we must continue to do. If you really want to be successful, you got to continue on being the best that you can. Welcome competition. Competition makes you better.
Right. So what's next on your journey? You've built this fabulous business. You've worked really hard. What's next, Max, on your list of achievements and to-dos?
Before I go any further,
Yes.
what concerns me today is that we're teaching children exactly the opposite of what I just finished telling you.
Yes.
Okay? So you sign to play football for Georgia Tech, for Virginia Tech, for FSU. And if you don't make the first team, you leave that and you go to another team.
Right.
And worse than that, now we're paying millions of dollars to a high school kid
Right.
to go and play. What did I just finish saying? That motivators should never be you.
Right.
So how about loyalty? How about being grateful? You know, so this is bad for our future.
Yes.
Because we are teaching our children the wrong philosophies, the wrong behavior.
Right.
I am totally concerned about that.
Yes.
So
I agree. And I think one of your philosophies, if I remember this correctly, is every generation must be better than the last.
if you look at our history over 250 years, the next generation is always better than the previous generation.
Yes.
But then remember what Reagan said.
Yes.
We're only a generation away from losing that.
Correct.
So we need to listen. Freedom is not free.
Right.
We need to continue to work on that and making sure that our children, what has made America the best country in the world is because it's a free country. America is most generous country in the world, and yeah, you can start a business from the trunk of your car.
Yes.
And be successful, and always the next generation is better because listen, my kids didn't have to go through the headaches that I went through.
Right.
Thank God. However, it is my responsibility to make sure to teach them about those things.
You know, and that's a really good point there. I think sometimes people don't recognize that it's your responsibility, my responsibility to teach that generation coming behind, which is the whole purpose of this program.
And again, I love to do this because I know that at least one or two kids are going to be influenced because they will say, I want to be like that. Yeah. I want to be able to do that. And I guarantee you, I don't care how intelligent you are. It doesn't matter. If you work hard and you have the resiliency and you have the loyalty and you have the determination, you're going to succeed. Make sure, don't have any fear.
Right.
Fear and failure are synonyms. Whenever, and what happens? A lot of really bright, intelligent people don't succeed because they're that intelligent. I'll give you an example. When I bought my first 4 gas stations, if I would have looked at the financial statement, and if I was intelligent, I would say, hell no.
Right.
I remember my lawyer telling me. My lawyer says, you know, they're giving this to you. They gave me 4 gas stations for $675,000. Right. Just an idea. That's how bad 7-Eleven wanted to get rid of them, and nobody else wanted them.
Right.
So if I would have been intelligent, I would have listened and say, yeah, you're right. I mean, my God, I'm not going to do that. They were just losing a lot of money. The 4 gas stations, they weren't even worth being in the business.
Right.
Okay. So somehow or another, I took them. I was totally convinced, never had a doubt that I would fail. Never.
Nice.
Because I had no fear, because I wasn't intelligent enough.
Right.
God.
During COVID, I began speaking to a lot of business groups. And that was one of my biggest points, that if you look at this and you fear the opportunity that's in front of you, then you're not going to make it. You have to approach this without any fear, because that's the only way you're going to survive.
And you may not get that opportunity again.
Right.
So you have to be intelligent enough to recognize the opportunity and not intelligent enough to avoid the fear of failure.
Right. Right.
So it's a great combination. Okay. So again, I am happy being just an average individual. Okay. And I, I I will remain until I die the Cuban refugee who came to this country.
Yeah. And that's such an amazing story, from you getting on the boat at 13, your parents sending you on your own to a country where you don't know the language well, losing your brother, to going to one of the top schools, universities in the country, finding a business very young in your early 20s, and building something that's great, and building something that continues to serve the community. I know that you're very involved. You hadn't discussed it yet. You're very involved. I think you named something for Monsignor Walsh to recognize his contribution to you, but what you've done for the entire community and the country is just incredible.
This quote, and I hope when I die, they put it on my tombstone. If I gave everything that I have today, it's not even 10% what I was given when I came to this country. Two very important virtues that I learned at a very young age. You got to be grateful and you got to be loyal. That is important. And I tell people, by the way, it doesn't cost money to be grateful. You know what I mean? That's how easy it is. Okay. Just make sure that you give thanks for everything that people do for you. And then when you're in a position like I am today, which is, by the way, I have so much more than I deserve. So if you're in that position, the least we could do is repay back some of the things that they have given me. So whatever I have given back is nothing compared to what I was given. And also, I want to make sure, and I try to teach people this, charitable contributions, charity, is when you give something and forget about it. I know all the schools, all the different foundations, they come to me, and if I give a donation, the first thing they tell you is tax-free, and then they tell you, we can put your name on the building. That's an investment.
Right.
Real charity is when you give something and forget about it. You don't expect anything in return. If I expect anything in return, it's not charity, it's an investment. By the way, it's a bad investment. Right. All I want my name in the building. I mean, really, I can take that money and buy another gas station, right, which is a lot more profitable than a building. Right. Okay. So again, they appeal to people's ego and they appeal to, that's not charity. Charity is when you help people who need it. Let me tell you what I do. I make sure that when I give something, it's to somebody who really needs it, is going to use it. It's not going to misuse it. Okay. I don't want to be charitable to somebody who goes and buy drugs. I want to be charitable to somebody who goes and gets drunk, or somebody who goes and plays a lottery. You follow me?
Yeah.
But when I contribute to the very school that provided me with what I have today, which is called education, that's charity. And I don't expect anything in return. They always do, and I'm very grateful that they do, but I don't expect it, and I don't really want it, because I learned Monsignor Walsh. He never expected anything in return. My mom and dad never expected anything in return. And I'm telling you, we have to quit measuring success by the amount of money or assets that you have. My mom and dad died, and they weren't even worth $30,000.
Right.
But I guarantee you they were rich.
Absolutely.
They were very wealthy.
Absolutely.
Because they saw me graduate from college. They saw me open a business. So.
Yeah, I agree. And your story about the watch to Monsignor Walsh is just amazing to me. The fact that he ended up giving it to someone who needed it more because they needed to tell time just speaks to the selflessness and the giving nature.
Something so small, but such a big lesson.
Absolutely.
Just the pinch of the arm. I mean, that's something so small, but such an important lesson to learn.
Right.
how to treat other people.
Right. I tell you this story, and I know we need to end. You have a lot that you need to do. But when my brother was young, he was getting a C grade, and my mom asked me to speak to him, and so I spoke to him, and I said, Brandon, you're so smart. You can do so much more. Kind of like what you did with your daughter who got the A minus. I said, you're so smart. You can easily get A's. You're much smarter than I am. Why are you not applying yourself? And it was interesting. What he said to me was, Ronnie, are you saying that being average and getting a C isn't good enough? And my response was, that's not the point. You deserve more because you can do more. You shouldn't do less just because you can get away with it.
You're cheating yourself.
You are.
What are you doing? You're cheating yourself.
Right.
And you should, again, just like I tell you, not motivated by money, but you should be motivated to know that you're the best that you can be. So that listen, we only in this life for a limited amount of time.
Agree with you.
And time is the most valuable asset that we have.
It is. My mother used to say that all the time.
You cannot waste time.
Yeah.
And you are not being fair to yourself when you don't give yourself that opportunity, especially when God gave you the capacity to do that.
Right.
Now you are cheating yourself and you are not paying back.
Agreed. I think we have an obligation to do well with our time that we have on this earth.
Totally convinced.
Yeah.
And again, most important, no fear. By the way, something that I need to let young people know. Okay? And I have a quote. I was given this plaque when my company turned 15 years. And my CPA gave me this because he knew me very well. Okay? And he says, I owe my success to having listened respectfully to the very best of advice, and then going away and doing the exact opposite. That's a quote from Mr. G.K. Chesterton.
Yes.
And it was given to me when my company turned 50 years old on March 19th, 2002.
Fine.
The point here is the following, okay? Do not have fear. People advising you are intelligent people who are only concerned of you failing.
Right.
And not concerned about you succeeding. So they think that they will help you succeed by not failing.
Right.
Not good. If I would listen to my lawyer in the way to the bank to borrow the money to buy the first 4 gas stations, I would probably driving a truck today.
Right.
Maybe working at Burger King or maybe working for ExxonMobil. And I would have not been as happy as I am today. I am in a position to help thousands of families because I follow my dream and I maintain those family values that became the foundation of my building. I started at home with mom and dad. I was supported not only by Monsignor Walsh when I came here at a very young age, but all my education and all those teachers and professors who helped me all along.
Right. And that's incredible. Sometimes you do have to roll the dice and take your gamble in that chance, and then have the confidence to know that you will figure out a way to make it work.
And I am not a gambler.
Me either.
I am not going to sit on the table and you tell me that you have 66 chances to win. I have 33. Right. I'm not going to be there. Right. I'm not a gambler. Right. So if anybody wants to gamble with me, be careful, because I only gamble when I know that I'm going
to win. Exactly.
I win when I control the odds.
Right. Now, Max, I've been in Vegas a lot, and I've spent no more than about 25 cents because I just wanted to see what they feel.
The odds are against you. Now, if you go there to have a good time, that's fine. Instead of going to a movie, I'm going to sit down and play blackjack. That's fine. Right. But don't ever think that you are going to beat the odds. I mean, they're honest. They're telling you. They don't lie.
Right.
They don't lie. They tell you, and then you sit down. Hello.
Right. Right. Max, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the program. Again, what you've done and what you represent more than what you've done. And this show isn't about necessarily making money, but it's about understanding our value and how we can continue to excel individually and can make a contribution. And what you've done is just amazing.
Thank you very much. We started with 4 underperforming gas stations. Today we supply over 500. We are ranked in the top 20 best convenience store operators in the country.
Nice.
And I don't operate one gas station.
Wow.
It's a family that I give to them. I don't rent it to them. I give it to them because I learned how to do that. I learned how to treat other people.
Right.
So they are not my employees. They're my family.
Nice.
Okay. So,
well, thank you for all that you do. Please keep in touch, and I'd love to have you back on the program one day.
anytime I can be of help to our young people so that they can feel the confidence that I, an average individual, have done what I did. And not only me, millions and millions of people who came to this country with the same situation that I came in are now very influential people who have paid back.
Yes.
So much that we were given when we came here.
Well, what's cool is that you're paying it forward. You carry on the legacy of Monsignor Brian Walsh, and that is to be respected. Thank you.
We're doing this kind of program because, believe it or not, even if you help one kid, that's a great job. And I know you're going to be helping thousands of kids. So God bless America. This is the time to rejoice. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And listen, our country is on a good position to become the greatest country in the world once again.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us on Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman.
Thank you for listening to Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. Please be sure to subscribe and share and stay tuned for more incredible Business Decoded episodes.